Yeah, I want to point out one thing that every Harley should have, and it's actually a stupid thing. It's simple, but that right there, temperature gauge on the oil. Like if it's getting too hot, because this is basically an air-cooled motor, and if your oil starts breaking down, it's because of high heat. That's what happens. So you want a temperature gauge on your oil, and I'll tell you another problem that a lot of people do is they fill this up too much. And what you should do, probably can't see it on here too well, there's two lines. There's an add line and there's a fill line. You shouldn't put the oil up to the top of the full line, because as this engine heats up, it actually goes up, the oil expands a little bit more. And what happens is, on this bike, on all the Harleys, you'll see it here too, because I got some right down there, blowby, it comes in, what happens is you builds up crankcase pressure, and because of the oil level, and then you get blowby, and then it drips out oil over here. It could actually clog up your air cleaner that way. Now the solution is, just like I said, a lot of people fill this up to the very top, of the fill mark on the fill line, not the top of this or anything. I'm just saying of the fill line. Now by the book, that's correct, but you should have it a little bit below the high point of the full line. You should have it between the add level and the full level, right between those two marks. And as you use it, you'll notice it does go up to the full line. And the other thing is, a lot of people use 2050 oil in bikes. Now Harley, I think you should use 50 weight or 60 weight straight, unless 2050 is good if it's like really, really cold out. But most people aren't riding a bike in the cold weather, they're riding it in hot weather. So 2050 is not what you want to use. You want to use straight 50 weight or straight 60 weight, and you'll eliminate a lot of that blow-by too. Now another thing, I got like a little ass cheap oil cooler on here, and I actually got that from Kennedy's Custom Motorcycles down in California back. And the guy that used to do all the custom bikes, he was there at the time, but you never see him. He's always in the back, and he moved out to Arizona. But these guys knew to shit with the bikes. They said all you need is this little cooler. You don't need nothing fancy, as long as you got something on there. This is like, I don't know, $15 cooler. And instead of I use hydraulic pressure line for the hoses. I don't even use just rubber oil lines. I used hydraulic tractor pressure hose. It's like really good shit. In other words, I never break it in a million years. It should hold up really good. I don't worry about getting that steel braided stuff, anodized colored stuff. And it could be black hose, but I don't use standard rubber hose. I use the hydraulic tractor hose. It's like for high pressure. It'll hold up a long time. But all you need is this little oil cooler. You don't need nothing heavy duty. It's got a bracket on there with a couple bolts. It's on there really solid. As a matter of fact, it's bolted and glued in there, like it has Gorilla Glue holding it together. So this thing is in there solid. It won't come down one way or the other. So, but that's an important little thing on every Harley, because what you got going here is air cooled, right? It's an air cooled motor, and what's the enemy of air cooled motors? Heat. So you want to keep that oil just a little cooler. You don't want to have it too cool. And it's something simple like this, no thermostatic control, that's just fine. The other thing is, you want to watch your oil temperature. And then when you're using straight oil, straight 50 weight, you can use 2050 when it's cooler out, but most of the time people are using the bikes in the summer, 90 degrees out and all that kind of shit, 95 degrees. You want to use straight 50 weight, and keep the bag not totally full. And Yeah, the other thing is too, when you're draining this oil out, I use a suction pump and take it out of this side. I don't use that hose on the other side. I always use a suction pump. And you get more of the oil out that way. You get all the metal shavings or whatever's in the garbage on the bottom, you get it out of there a lot better. So, but you know, maintenance will keep these bikes going a lot longer. And I like these older, you know, now they're old. And back when I got this was a new design. You know, they used to have the iron head Sportsters and shovel heads, and the Evo was a new design. Actually, I'm going to tell you the truth. I think the Evo was definitely the best stuff going. It definitely. And, you know, this twin cam, big, you know, the new ones with the twin cams, I think there's too many problems with them. Actually, it's turning out that the Sportsters that were considered not the best things around are turning out to be the better ones now. There's a lot less bullshit you can go wrong with them, actually, to tell you the truth. There's only a couple things that this bike had a couple flaws with, but the aftermarket fixed them up. And top end on these bikes are usually good for 100,000 miles, no problem if you take care of them. So it's really practical.